Good morning, readers, and welcome back to Quarantine Literacy. It is day 2 of Life is Not Fair. That's the theme we're looking at this week. This theme that we see across many, many books and that we see across many, many lives, right? How many times have you said, "But that's not fair," to a family member or a teacher or a sibling or a friend? I bet you've said it a few times, just once or twice. So this is something that we see in books a lot too. Characters run into problems and they shout out like, "This isn't fair." Or as a reader, we're like, "That poor character, it's not fair." So yesterday, do you remember we read, "There's a bear on my chair." And that poor mouse with the bear, that polar bear who just would not get out of his chair. And that mouse eventually just started screaming, "It is not fair, it is not fair." And then he kind of gave into it and he just left, and he was super creative and he came up with a whole new idea. He was like, "All right, you know what? Forget the chair. I don't need the chair. I'm going to go find me a house." And then he moves into Bear's house, right? So he kind of found a creative way to get around his problem. And I bet that you have found some creative ways to problem solve in your own lives. Today we're going to read a book with some familiar characters in it. Do you remember Frog and Toad? We read about them in this series a while back in Quarantine Literacy. And I told you how much I love Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. They are just two really fun characters. We talked about them in our friendship study and how different they are, but what good friends they are too. So today we're going to read a story called Ice Cream. And you can see there's a table of contents that tells us where each story is. Ice Cream is on page 30. So I'm going to move to page 30 and then I'm going to read our story. And you guys, when something happens that doesn't seem very fair or just, I want you to put a thumbs up because you're like, I know it, I know what the thing is. Okay, you ready? Get those thumbs ready. Ice Cream. Oh boy, I was just thinking how this book is about a hot summer day. And right now where I live, it was snowing yesterday, you guys. It was so cold. I cannot wait for the warmer days to happen when I want to actually eat ice cream. That hasn't happened yet. But in this story, in this setting, it's a hot summer day. Ice cream. One hot summer day, Frog and Toad sat by the pond. "Well, I wish we had some sweet cold ice cream," said Frog. "What a good idea," said Toad. "Wait right here, Frog. I will be back soon." Toad went to the store. He bought 2 big ice cream cones. Yummy. Look at that. 2 giant ice cream cones, one for himself and one for his friend. Toad licked one of the cones. "Frog likes chocolate best," said Toad. "And so do I." Anything unfair happen yet? We're getting ice cream. It's pretty cool. Not unfair. Toad walked along the path. A large, soft drop of chocolate ice cream slipped down his arm. "Oh, this ice cream is melting in the sun," said Toad. Toad walked faster. Many drops of melting ice cream flew through the air. They fell down on Toad's head. "I must hurry back to Frog," he cried. Are those thumbs up? This is not so great. So he got the ice cream, but now this really unfair kind of bummer thing is happening, which is that this hot, hot sun is melting that cold, cold ice cream. It's dripping down his arm, it's dripping onto his face, it's dripping onto his body. So that's seeming not great. Kind of, some of us might be like, well, that's a bummer. That's not fair, right? So if you had those thumbs up, I agree. More and more of the ice cream was melting. It dripped down on Toad's jacket. It splattered on his pants and on his feet. "Oh, where is the path?" cried Toad. "I cannot see." Oh, poor Toad. Look at him, you guys. He is just covered in ice cream. I can't tell where the ice cream ends and Toad begins. Not fair. Frog sat by the pond waiting for Toad. A mouse ran by. "I just saw something awful," cried the mouse. "It was big and brown." Oh my goodness. You guys, who do you think that mouse is talking about? The big, awful thing that's coming down the path.
"Something covered with sticks and leaves is moving this way,"
cried Squirrel. "Here comes a thing with horns," shouted a rabbit. "Run for your life." What can it be?" asked Frog. Any predictions? Anyone have a prediction for who you think or what you think is coming down the path? Think for a moment. If you have an idea, touch your brain. Point to your brain if you have that idea. Let's see. Frog hid behind a rock. He saw the thing coming. It was big and brown. It was covered with sticks and leaves. It had 2 horns. Look at that. It does look like a terrifying monster, doesn't it? "Frog!" cried the thing. "Where are you?" "Good heavens!" cried Frog. "That thing is Toad." For those of you who predicted it was Toad, you are right. Toad fell into the pond. He sank to the bottom and came up again. "Drat," said Toad. "All of our sweet cold ice cream has washed away." If you fell into a pond and all of your ice cream got washed away, what would you probably say next? "That's not fair." Right? So that's why I had my thumb up, because I was like, I see a spot where something doesn't feel very fair. "Well, never mind," said Frog. "I know what we can do." Frog has an idea. Frog and Toad quickly ran back to the store. Then they sat in the shade of a large tree and ate their chocolate ice cream cones together. Look at that. There they are, enjoying some ice cream together. So, readers, what do you think? Did we see some evidence in that book where life just didn't seem very fair? Things were not going the way that the character wanted them to go? Yeah, right? Toad went out. He had this great idea to get ice cream for him and his friend. He was all excited and he was being quite generous. And he bought Frog's favorite kind of ice cream, chocolate. And he's carrying it back on the path and he's all happy and excited. And then what happens? The sun is beating down and it's hot and it's melting the ice cream. He gets covered in ice cream, which is so uncomfortable. And then he falls into and all these forest creatures are like running away from him, terrified, right? Like, "Oh my gosh, a monster's coming." So then he's probably embarrassed. And then he falls into the pond and all the ice cream gets swept away, right? So a lot of not so great things happening to that character. A lot of kind of unfair, unjust circumstances. But even though things seemed dire and life was not so great for Toad in that moment, Frog came up with an idea. And what was his idea, readers? What did he say we could just do? He's like, "Well, don't worry. How did he solve that problem at the end? He went back and got more ice cream for the two of them. And then they sat under the shade of the tree so it didn't melt, and they enjoyed their ice cream together. So even when it seems like all hope is lost, just remember there's always a silver lining. There's always a way to get around a problem. There's always a solution. Sometimes the solution is just start over. Sometimes the solution is ask a friend for help. Maybe they've got really good advice for how to solve the problem or the situation that you're in. So I want you to go back to that list that you started last night. Remember I said you can think about a time when life was not fair for you, or think about your circumstances right now, which are not very fair, and come up with one thing that you're grateful for. Well, I want you to continue with that list, and we're going to call it a gratitude list. And tomorrow I will show you what my list looks like, and maybe you can show a friend or a family member what your list looks like, your gratitude list. So add another thing tonight that you are grateful for. Maybe you are grateful for sunshine. Maybe you're grateful for ice cream. Maybe you're grateful for a heater in your house that's keeping you warm. Maybe you're grateful for a poem that you read yesterday, or a teacher who's been reaching out to you. Whatever you are grateful for, it could be a thing like a blanket or a book. It could be an experience like watching, having a movie night with your family. It could be a person, right? Like a mom or a dad or a grandma or an auntie or a cousin. So just start to list some things that you are grateful for, because when times are hard, it's really important to remember what's still going well. Okay, readers, I'll see you tomorrow for our third quarantine literacy day on Life Isn't Fair. Bye.